Hello everybody, Gisele Grenier here. In this video lesson, I'm going to work on a small piece that you can actually DIY the substrate, but you can also buy it already made. So what this is a little fridge magnet, or actually it's canvas on a magnet. Now you can use canvas paper and glue it on an actual magnet board, or you can take, let me just get it here. You can take stuff like this. And it's actual thick board. You can cut it by hand and then you can glue it on a magnet, or just take masonite or cardboard, even just cardboard with a magnet. It doesn't matter. So something that's paintable glued onto a magnet. And I'm going to create a little evening scene that resembles the sky up north. I'm in Canada, so the skies up north are just absolutely beautiful. So what I've got here, and I may bring some stuff out, but I'll let you know, I'm going to be using the DecoArt products, the DecoArt Americana Enchanted Shimmer, the blue, the Americana Enchanted, just the Enchanted also in blue, so I have the regular blue and I have the shimmering blue, the DecoArt Matte Metallics Charcoal, and over here, the DecoArt Chalky Gesso in black, and my absolute favorite varnish, the Americana Duraclear varnish. And for this particular one, I'm going to be using the high gloss finish. And I've got, this is, I believe, a Tim Holtz stamp. It's the tree line, which I've got, and I've got it mounted onto an acrylic blank. And I'm just going to be using StazOn Jet Black ink. I can use paint, but I didn't clean my stamp last time. I actually ruined it. And then Joe found these little die cuts at the dollar store, and here's one of a little bird, which I'm going to be using for the sky. All right, so to get started with this, with the Enchanted Shimmers, they look best on a black finish. So I'm going to do that, and yeah, that should be okay. And I'm going to take the DecoArt Chalky Gesso, and I'm going to paint the bird. The bird I'm going to be covering with the matte metallic, but I might as well gesso it because it is wood. And when you prime the wood, it's always best. Now, if you're making these little magnets from scratch, DIYing, nothing wrong with that. I just have so much of these, I have to use them up. These make great gifts. And I know you can get them at the dollar store, and you can, so for something that can cost you, literally with paint and stuff, it could cost you, $2 to make, and it would make a great gift, or something that you can sell at a craft show for the holidays. And with COVID, I don't know what's, depending on what part of the world you're in, if craft shows are going to be allowed. Here, no, we won't be able to do that, but that's when you can sell the stuff online. That's the safest, is to buy it online. All right, so got that. Now that's going to take, I'm going to put about 2 coats on that, because if you're giving this as a gift, don't skimp on the quality, or if you're going to be selling it, don't skimp on the quality. Make sure that you're using proven products. So if you're going to do a DIY experiment with, let's say, with paints or making your own medium, make sure that you've done it before, and it's in the piece that you tested it on has held up for at least a year. The last thing you want to do is use your own DIY art supplies, do out in something, and then sell it, and the thing starts to crack or fade or fall apart, a few months down the road, because that's your credibility. That's going to be damaged. So I'm just going to paint the other side. Using DIY art supplies is fine if you're just experimenting for yourself. But if you want to sell this stuff to make some extra money, which is what a lot of people are doing during the pandemic, is, your name is going to be everything. Alrighty, so you're going to go there. And I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to put 2 more coats of the black chalky gesso on there, and then we're going to come in and we're going to start doing some painting. Look how flat that is. It's beautiful. So it took 3 coats and it went into all the crevices. Works absolutely great. Now I'm going to take the 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 enchanted, not the shimmer, just the regular iridescent top coat. And I'm going to put, you don't need a lot of this, just a little dollop like that. And clean brush, make sure your brush is clean, slightly dampened. Now I'm going to work upside down, so the tree line will be here. So I'm going to, what I want to do is I want to start from the top and I want to work down, not upside down, top down, and in a vertical pattern. So I'm going to paint the whole thing. And the reason why I say top down is that it doesn't matter here if we don't have enough paint, because that's where the tree line is going to be. You want to make sure that you have a good amount of paint at the top. So just at the top. So at the top, I'm putting basically multiple layers are going down. Now, if you don't have a stencil, you can also just do the same thing to get this effect. Just don't go down all the way. So you can see here, I don't have enough here. And this particular one, the board seems a little bit chipped. Okay, yeah, it's curled up here. There we go. How beautiful is that? All right, so that's that. Now this here, I can use the heat gun to dry it. Well, it doesn't take long at all. Look how beautiful it is on black. I'm gonna have to put a little bit more in that corner. Oh, banshees are out. Loud, loud, loud kids. And I don't mean to offend anybody, but I want to use this time to relax doing art. I don't want to listen to kids screaming. And they always pick in front of our place to do their playing and screaming. Especially at 10 o'clock at night, because we've got solar lights that go on, motion sensors. So, oh my God. All right. Okay, so we got that. I'm thinking that I may need to flip this around because this doesn't seem to be holding the paint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the rest of the paint and I'm going to put it down here. Okay, so I'm not going to edit this out because it might happen to you where the paint just doesn't stick. So there may have been some of the plastic residue from the packaging. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rely on the, when I stamp it, that I can cover this part here with black. And this is the part here I'm talking about, this corner. It's not holding any paint. So let me just put a little bit more in here. And stuff like this happens. Especially when this stuff is made overseas. Because, you know, quality is not at the top of their priority list, depending on where you buy it. Okay. All right, so let's see what I can get out of this. Nope, it still didn't quite. So there is definitely something there that's resisting the paint. That's okay. I have a solution I'll show you after. Now I'm going to take the shimmering iridescent top coat. So the Enchanted Shimmer Blue. Now this is where you have to figure out which is going to be the top and which is going to be the bottom. And, oh, well, hang on. Let's do this first. I'm going to take the DecoArt Matte Metallic. This is the charcoal. And I'm going to put one little tiny little dollop right there. You don't need a lot. Got a tiny brush and I'm going to start painting this. You could leave it flat if you want. I just wanted a little bit of, not a super shiny metallic. I love the look of this. Now I put gesso on all the sides of this little bird. Oh, if anybody can find die cuts like this in the shape of a raven, let me know. I've been looking for ones in the shape of a raven. I mean, I've got a scan and cut that I can use for that. And that way, you know, I can create the shapes and cut out a cardboard and replicate it to, you know, make multiple pieces. But I like wood die cuts. Put that over there to dry. Okay, so now I'm going to work now top to bottom again, but I'm not going to go all the way down. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to turn this way. I'm going to stop right about here. So I have to think of where my tree line is going to go. So I think in my tree line here, my little birdie right about here. So I need to make a visual, kind of an idea of where. I don't want to bring the paint all the way down. So I'm thinking I'm going to stop right about here, which is a third of the way down. So load the brush, only halfway. Start at the top, touch, push, and lift. Touch, push, and lift. Oops, I went a little bit crooked there. So what you're doing is it's the same technique as before. You're applying the paint, but you're lifting the brush off, and that gives you the jagged edges. And I just realized I forgot to bring out a product. Yeah, that's nice. Now this one here, I'm going to put 2 coats on here. Let this dry. I'm going to put 2 coats. And when I put the second coat on, I'm going to go down about halfway. Then the other piece that I forgot to bring out, it's the DecoWare Holographic Illusions, the holographic glitter paint in Enchanted Blue. Why they named the paint Enchanted Blue when they have a line called Enchanted, I don't know. I keep getting confused with this. Then I'm going to take this paint and I'm just going to put the thinnest layer over, and that's going to create the stars. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry just a little bit more. Make sure you don't have any hard edges on that. So that's where it's at so far. It's kind of hard to see with the, there we go. I should be able to, I don't want to get the glare. All right, so now we're going to do another layer. We're going to stop about halfway. Same thing, just touch, push, lift. And with this paint, you need to let it dry before you add your additional layers. Just make sure you don't have any hard edges. Okay, now I'll let that dry and we come back. Let me just get this stuff out of the way. We're going to put a thin layer of this one. So now I've got the holographic glitter paint, the Enchanted Blue, over here. I'm going to load my brush quite well. And this one's the same thing, top, down. And I want to go just behind the tree line. I don't want to put too much of this paint on because the glitter, where it's placed, it's very sparse on the first layer, which is perfect. And then what I'll do is I'll let that dry. Then I can come back, and where there's, like here, there's very little there, I can come back. I'll just show you, then I can add a little bit more paint right in here. All right, I'm just going to take a little bit more paint. I'll go right at the very top, and I'm just going to bring that down. You don't need a lot of this, it's so strong. I just want to make sure I've got a good amount on the edges, because I'm going to come in, I'm going to darken the edges with a little bit of black paint just to create that vintage edge look to frame it. There we go. That's it. That's all I need. So the next step after this, and we have to wait for this to be completely dry, is we're going to come in and we're going to stencil or stamp. You can stencil if you have a stencil. I'm going to stamp the tree line here, and then using the DecoWare Medium Matte Medium, forgot about that, and I'm going to glue the little bird right in the sky. All right, the moment of truth. So when you're doing this, it might be handy to practice this on regular paper first. And I'm going to ink the whole piece. Okay. Now I'm going to place that right about there. That's interesting. It didn't, okay, well that's no problem. I can fix that. It didn't take. Yeah, that is weird. This is not the first time this has happened. I'm going to grab my alcohol swabs and I'm going to clean up the stamp, and then I can always come in and fill this in with black paint. So I'm not sure why I cleaned the stamp before, so if anybody has had that happen before, using a regular acrylic, like a stamp like this, and then using the StazOn, if this type of thing has happened, to let me know, you know, what some of the reasons might be. So I'm just going to use the Decor Media Fluid Acrylics Carbon Black to fill in the pieces. This has dried, and I'm just going to take a little brush and I'm just going to go side by side. And I'm going to tilt this a bit because of the glare. I want to make sure that's primarily filled in the bottom edges. Actually, I'm going to turn this upside down. There we go. And just zigzag. Go. Like that. Now, while this is drying, I can come in and I can take a brush and I can paint the edges black as well. Now, this really, to be honest with you, should be done with gesso, because this is raw MDF under here. So gesso is what you should use for this. And when you're painting this, don't use paint that is super watery, especially on unprimed MDF, because the wood will swell and you have to wait a really long time for it to dry. You can also use a cosmetic sponge to paint the edges. Now what I like to do is I like to paint them black, like for this one here, paint it black, then I can come in with a metallic and finish the edge with the metallic paint. Now this is like watching paint dry, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. You can just watch or skip ahead to the next section. And just fill that in. And I'm using a small brush so I don't get too much paint on there. And then the color that you put on the outside edge is totally dependent on what you want as the accent color. So for this, I could turn around and just continue. I can just put the actual same holographic paint around the edge, or I can use a really strong contrasting color as long as the base is black. Because the holographic paint really stands out on a black base. Now Decor does have the ultra black base coat paint for that line. I'm almost out of it, and I like the chalky gesso finish for that, but whatever works for you. So with this here, because the front part is quite heavy in the metallics, I could leave the sides a matte finish. Now, one of the things that we didn't talk about is sealing this, which is critical. If you know where this is going to be used, then that will determine what varnish that you put on here. So if it's going to be in a high humidity area, you want to use a polyurethane varnish. which is indoor outdoor. Which is why the Duraclear is now my go-to for everything, because then it doesn't matter how people use the piece because it's waterproof. If it's just going to be, you know, in a hallway or something, then you can use, you know, any of the varnishes. But when you're selling these and giving them as gifts, you don't know where people are going to be using this, so a polyurethane varnish is always the safest bet. Go. Okay, so that's that. Now, what I like here is I like how some of the shimmer is coming through on the top edge. But what I can do is just take a little bit of that paint and wipe off the excess on a paper towel. And I'm just going to come in and lightly brush the edge. And if you have like a sponge, actually, let me show you how to. I've done this many times. With a little cosmetic sponge that I've cut. And just do the edges like that. Just make sure you get rid of the excess paint. And what this does is it puts a frame around the whole piece. This piece is a little short. There we go. And then let it dry, and then just put the bottom. I can also just pat a little bit on the bottom just to really make sure the bottom is black. See, with that nice fuzzy look to it. I like that. I like to darken the corners for composition because then it keeps the eye inside the piece. There we go. Throw that in some water. Or now, okay, so with the bird, I have the matte metallic look. Okay, so there's that look there. Okay, so what I'm looking at is that's what I see. Okay, but I'm gonna tilt that for you. Okay, so that's the matte. Oh, there's a matte metallic, and then you have. That's just the gesso. And it's up to you which one you want to use. So personally, I'm actually liking the flat look. So, but I want the bird like this. So I can take the sponge and just very lightly sponge that on, leaving some of the actual matte metallic showing through. So it's just creating a tiny bit of a change in the finish. So we're going to have a slight matte metallic with a little bit of flat acrylics. And then we're going to put that right there. So that way when you, depending on how you're coming in, because holographic paint and iridescent paint, depending on how you walk and the light hits, the color shifts. So it'll slightly do the same thing with this one here. Now, if this was a bigger piece, I would come in with Mystic Black on the bird, but it's so tiny that the glitter is actually going to be bigger than the bird itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with a clean brush. And I only have, this is the smallest brush I have. And it's just going to put, and it doesn't matter if any of the matte medium gets on the piece because we're going to be going over it with a gloss varnish. So I'm just covering, oh sorry, I was off camera. Just covering the birdie, the birdie. Yeah, the birdie. I have a piece that I'm working on featuring Edgar Allan Poe, which is why I was asking if anybody knows of these die cuts in the shape of a raven. That would be awesome. Right there. Stay. All right. Where's my, oh, just gonna hold him down and just gonna put a little bit more on the inside. Just sealing him in here. And again, the varnish will also do the same thing. Just making sure. And it's more difficult on canvas, like on a canvas print, because of the texture, which is why I put a lot of coats of gesso to try to flatten everything out. There we go. Okay, so that's what I see here. Okay, but I have to tilt it this way to see it. Oh, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. All right, so now when this is cured, I'm going to come in with the high gloss varnish, and I'm going to put a whole coat on that. One thing that you can do too, if you built up a dam around the edges, so if you take a small piece, like strips of paper, and you create a little dam like this, you could pour some triple thick on there, or let the triple thick drip over the edges, but then it's going to affect the magnet. What you can also do is resin. You can do that. You can also do liquid glass, which is, liquid glass to me is the non-permanent, not non-permanent, non-indoor-outdoor version of resin. So the liquid glass is perfect for that. So I'm just going to jump ahead and show you that. So that's the high gloss, and it comes in different finishes. And the beauty with this one here, it is indoor-outdoor. Clean brush. Now I have an actual varnish brush, which is too big for this. So I'm going to come in right around here, work this first, because any excess then I can brush out. Now the beauty of this varnish is that I don't lose any of the effect of the iridescent top coat. If you were to use a, let's say a matte varnish, you'd lose the finish. So which is why I love this high gloss varnish. Now that I've worked around here, I can come in with a bigger brush to do the rest. The bigger the brush, the better when varnishing, because then it minimizes brush strokes. And with varnishing, many thin, even layers are better than one thick layer. Because if you put the layer too thick, it won't dry properly. So the first layer, I work one way. Then when I do the second layer, I'll work the other way. Now I can varnish the birdie as well, which I'm going to do. Make sure I put the brush on the inside of the die cut to make sure that there isn't a puddle of varnish there. All right. So what I'll do is I'll let this dry. This will only take, because it's really hot in here, this will only take probably about 15 minutes to half an hour. Always read the directions on the bottle, and then you can also go to Decor's website to get more information. But on super thin layer in a hot, humid environment, it'll take a little bit longer. Dry, humid environment, it'll be a lot faster. So for me, I can wait for this for about 15 to 30 minutes, and I can put another layer. Then for that, wait about 30 minutes to 45 minutes, put another layer, then wait an hour or 2 hours to put another layer. And what I'm doing is I'm making sure that each layer has sufficient time to dry and build up the layers. So when we come back, I will have done 3 layers on this, and then we'll take a look at the finished piece. All right, so while this was drying, I created another one just using a different color. So what I did, let me just grab this. I used the iridescent, the American Enchanted turquoise instead for that start, just to give it a green. I like that look. And with the when I did the stamp, it didn't stick on the bottom as well. So I have a funny feeling it's the actual stamp. Even though I'm cleaning it with alcohol pads, I think it's the actual stamp that's got something on it. So I'm going to see if I can do some research on that. But let me just turn this and just tilt it. There we go. See this, how the color is shifting? How beautiful that is. So now that I look at this little bird, I think I would have preferred him to be solid. Now Now I could turn around and fill this in with black so he'll look more solid, but that turned out really nice. I'm kind of partial to the green though. I'm kind of partial to the green because I find that the Aurora Borealis, you know, up north, it has, you know, has more of a color like this. Oh, it matches my really rough painted nails. Oh my goodness. But so there you go. So a really good little gift for these, and it's magnetized so it'll stick to the fridge, and you can just sign your name in the back with a white gel pen, and it's ready to go. So with this one here, all I have to do is take another little piece and put it here, and that'll be finished, and that'll be an artist trading card. So I hope that you enjoyed this project, and let me know if there's other surfaces that you'd like to see little projects like this on, or if this is something that you might be interested in as an idea to make and to sell to earn some extra cash. And I'd love to hear from you if you have any questions. Alrighty, so until I see you in the next video, stay inspired.